California dreaming about you.
Hey guys, SimCoder here, and today we are going to learn how we can create a chat. So we are not going to start working on the messages. We are simply going to create a chat, create a unique ID for the chat where we can store the messages, and we are going to create a list in the main activity where the user can see all of the chats that he is in. Okay, let's get right on with it. And here we are in the Android Studio. I organized the code, so I've placed the user list adapter and user object inside a package named user, and you can do this by simply right-clicking your package name, then hovering over new, and then clicking package. And I created a package called utils for the utilities. And I've placed the country to phone prefix in there. In case we need to add anything else, we now have a package for that. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is to go inside the user list adapter, and we are going to create a chat anytime the user clicks the layout of this. I'm sorry, the item user in this case. And let's go inside the item user. Speaking of that, and inside here I'm going to give an ID to the layout. So come in here, layouts, and this is just so that we can place set on click listener for the layout. Okay, so now let's come inside the view holder. I'm going to make this bigger. Click linear layouts and layouts. And I'll simply duplicate one of those and do this. Okay, now we are simply going to come inside the onBind view holder and say holder.mlayouts.set on click listener new on click listener, and there we go. Now we have an on click listener for this. Now the thing is, how do you believe we are going to make this? So the easiest way is to create a unique ID. Let me come in here to show you. A unique ID just like the user has. In Firebase you are able to create unique IDs wherever you want. And we are going to simply create a child in here called chat. And we are going to place the chat ID here. Okay? Imagine this. And we are going to do the same for the other user. So imagine these two users want to talk. Okay? And these two chat IDs are the same. They must be the same. Okay? Because they point into another part of the database, which I'm going to simply call chat, which these two will have the chat ID. But unlike these two chats ID, this one will have multiple childs below it, which will be the messages. So message ID 1 with whatever, and we'll have message ID 2 again with whatever. And the reason why I'm doing this is because it wouldn't be efficient to, in the chats inside of each user, simply place all of the messages. It is better for us to have a pointer to where we need to go look for the messages. And so these chat IDs will be the same, and they will both point to this chat ID, which will be the same value. Okay, that's the way we are going to do this. And so now we are going to learn how we can publish unique ID. So what you're going to do is to do string key equals to Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference dot child chat dot push dot get key. And this will return, as I've said, a unique ID that doesn't exist inside chat. So this will look basically like something like this, a bunch of letters and numbers and whatever. Okay, so now we have a key. We are going to go inside each of the users. So inside, imagine I'm the one choosing this user to talk to. So inside my app, inside my space in the database, we are going to create a chat, and inside the other user's database, we are going to create a chat ID and set the value to true. As simple as that. So Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference dot child user dot child Firebase auth dot get instance dot get UID. So this is my UID, and we're going to set the value to true. And I'm setting the value to true because you must set the reference that this child value to something. Otherwise, it won't work. And I forgot a couple of things, so we aren't going to set this to true, obviously. Now we have to add dot child chat, and then child key. As I was saying, we must set it to true because it must have some kind of value, otherwise it won't create anything. And we're going to repeat this, but this time we are going to repeat it for the user that we clicked on. And to do that, we simply have to change this into user list dot get position dot get the UID, which we currently don't have. We have to create it. So in here it is meant to be like this. I thought we had already created it, but we don't. So let's do it right now. So the user object must have one more thing attached by now. We'll probably add a couple more. Oops, I'm screwing this up. I don't know why. Name. We'll probably add more in the future, but for now, that's what we are going to go with. So UID, and add it there, UID. Now do what we always do. In here, UID and get UID. Okay, this is just so that we can access the database, otherwise we wouldn't be able to. Okay, I'm moving this up, okay. And now errors will show up in the find user activity because we must also give the user the UID. In case of the contact list, we are simply going to add a null one and an empty one because we won't be using it. But in here, we can simply grab it in an extremely easy way, because all we have to do is say child snapshot dot get key, and this will return the UID of the user. And you are more than free to debug the app to see exactly what's happening. If you are having second guesses on this and you're having doubts, then please debug it. Place breakpoints wherever you want and click this tool right here, and it will stop wherever you place the breakpoints, and you are able to see the data that's inside each variable. Okay, so now we are able to get the UID, the error disappeared as you can see, and everything is done. Okay, so now we don't have to do anything else. All that I'm going to do is to close the current activity so that we can go back to the main activity. So context, I believe we had a context. If we don't, I don't believe there's a problem. Get context, exactly. So v, which is the view dot get context dot finish, or we can't do it. Okay, so now it is done, and the chat should be created by now. And the only thing that we have to do is to display the list of every single chat that we are on. Okay, so I'm going to clear this all up. I'm going to go inside the main page activity. And in here, we must simply add a recycler view. So for that, I'm going to come in here and add a recycler view inside the activity main page layout. Say recycler view, add it with match parents, height, wrap content. I'm going to remove that. The ID, let me just check what we called it inside the find user so that I can keep everything coherent. User list, I'm going to call it chat list. Okay, and it is a constraint layout. I'm going to change it into a linear layout because it is easier to work with. I don't really care about layout at the moment. We are just dealing with the back end basically. Okay, so that's it. The layout is done. Now we can go into the main page activity, and I'm going to open up the find user activity as well. And the reason is because, well, building a recycler view is always the same. So I'm going to grab all of this. I'm going to make changes, of course, but for now it is good enough. I'm going to remove the contact list and change user list to chat list. Do the same thing for the names that appear here. Remove user and place it with chat. Okay. And now I'm going to go inside and get the initialize recycler view function and simply paste it in here. Now we must change all of the users to chat. Again, I'm going to show you how to do this easily. I'm going to simply click Ctrl F and click the select all occurrences option. And I'm going to simply type chat list. Okay, that's it. Now errors appear here, but simply remove it and you are done. Okay, now in the ID it is chat list without the capital letter, and now we have the chat list adapter, which currently doesn't exist. I'm going to change this capital letter again. Currently it doesn't exist, but it is basically the same as user list adapter. However, I'm going to duplicate the user list adapter into a chat list adapter because in the future we might want to do something specific with the chat list, like displaying specific images, displaying the name of the chat, so on and so forth. So it must be unique. So I'm going to create a new package for the chat specifically. Create new Java class chat list adapter. Okay, so for now we have to import the chat list adapter. Okay, so it is expecting a chat nothing because we haven't added anything to the chat list adapter. Okay, I'm going to simply copy this inside here so that we can initialize the recycler view, and now we are ready to go. So I'm going to close this because we won't be needing it anymore, I believe. I'm going to close this as well, and I'm going to open the user list adapter. And I'm going to simply grab everything, including the imports and package. You can simply click Ctrl All and copy and paste. Okay. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So user list, I'm going to select all occurrences and change them to chat list and do that. Okay. Now no error should appear, only the package name, because we are not using the user, we are using the chat package. Okay, that's it. And now it is asking for an import, but I'm not going to. The reason is because I'm going to create an object for the chat specifically. So I'm going to come in here, click new, chat object. Okay, and the chat object will have the chat ID and the title. Okay, the title we won't be using today, but the chat ID we will. Chat ID, and for that reason I'm going to simply create a chat object with the chat ID. And this is unnecessary because, well, we could create an array list of the type string, and that would do exactly the same thing as we are doing now, but I want to add more things in the future, and this is just to get ready for that occurrence. Public chat object string chat ID. Oops, okay. And I'll simply say this dot chat ID equals to chat ID. Okay, now get chat ID so that we are able to get the ID of the position that we want, and that's it. The chat object is done. I'm going to make this bigger so that you guys can see. And now we are able to close this up, come in here, and change the user object to chat object. So I'm going to simply say chat object, better yet, user object, select all occurrences and change it to chat object. Okay, and now errors show up in here because we don't really need the on-click listener right now, even though I'm going to leave it and I'm going to simply remove what's inside it. Okay, because we are going to use it not today, but whenever we have the messaging part ready, we are going to send the user to that particular chat. Okay, and we are going to change this. So I'm going to change this to Untitled, and you'll see why in a second. And in here I'm going to say chat ID. Okay, now what we have to do is to change the layout, because we aren't going to inflate the item user. We are going to inflate the item chat. Okay, create it. Change this to it doesn't matter because we are going to copy and paste. Okay, now simply come in here, click control and click with the left key of your mouse inside the item user. Simply grab it all and paste it here. Okay, now what we are going to do is to remove the phone and replace this with title, the title of the chat that we are in. Okay, I'm going to add a margin just because it is really thin right now and it will be a bit hard to see. Actually, I'm going to make it a padding. Okay, and I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to change the view holders to what we have right now. So we have a title and we don't have a phone. Okay, so that's it. Let's close this. We don't need it anymore, and we are going to go inside the main page activity. And as you can see, there's an error, and that's because in the chat list adapter we have chat object. That's what we are expecting. We are expecting a chat object, and in here the chat list is of the type user object. So let's simply change that. Okay. And now all that we are going to do is to fetch all of the information that we have so that we can populate the recycler view. Okay, it is going to be extremely easy, so don't worry about a thing. So let's come in here. I'm going to move the get permissions to the end because it is the least relevant part of this class. I'm going to say private void get chat, and I changed the language for some reason. Okay, get user chat, get user chat list. Okay, now I'm simply going to say database reference user chat db equals to Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference dot child user dot child Firebase auth, and now we point to the user's ID, Firebase auth dot get instance dot get UID, and now finally we simply point to chat, which will be inside it. Okay, close that up to get more real estate. Now let's simply call muserchatdb dot add value event listener, new value event listener. And the difference between the value event listener and the single event listener is that this value event listener will always be listening to the database and checking for changes. Okay, that's the main reason why I'm using it. Okay, so now say if data snapshot dot exists, data snapshot with the D not capitalized exists, then we can simply create a for that will loop through every single unique chat ID that there is inside of this database reference. Okay, so now let's say data snapshot, child snapshot, just as we did for the find user activity, I believe. Child snapshot and then 2 points data snapshot. Okay. And it is data snapshot dot get children, otherwise it won't work. Okay, this will loop through every single ID that's inside the user chat. Okay, and now we are simply going to create a chat object, and chat equals to new chat object child snapshot dot get key, and this will retrieve to us the ID of each and every single chat. Next, simply add the chat list, the DM chat to the chat list. Okay, and add the chat list adapter and notify the chat list adapter. Okay, that's it. We don't need to do anything else. We just need to add the get user chat list to the onCreate method. I'm going to add it to the end of the onCreate method. But yeah, apart from that, it should be working. We have the user list adapter set and ready, and it should user list adapter, no, the chat list adapter, here we are. And yeah, oops, and there is a thing that's wrong here. The layout is meant to be item chat. Make sure you change that, otherwise it could crash because of the find view by ID. Okay, but apart from that, it should be working. I'm just going to launch the app and see if everything checks out. Okay, so here we are, and a chat ID appears right away because I have this right here, but don't worry, it doesn't matter, we can remove it later. So let's go ahead and find user, and I'm going to click the test2. Okay, so I believe I'm logged in as the 1111. So I'm going to click the test2 and see if it creates a unique chat ID for here. There we go. And it turns out I'm logged in as a test2, and that's the reason why it didn't create on the other one. So let's do it again, this time for the test1, and there we go. This created an unique ID and duplicated it for both me and the test1. Okay, so that's exactly what we wanted. And now going back, well, it copied a bunch of it, and it is a really easy fix, but I'm not going to worry about that now. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that now, or no. Now let's fix it. It is a pretty easy fix, as I said, so let's do for chat object mchat iterator and chat list. This will give us all of the objects that are inside of the chat list. And you say if mchat iterator dot get chat ID dot equals mchat dot get chat ID, then we don't do nothing. Otherwise, we simply keep on adding. So for this, we are going to add a flag. So boolean exists set to false, and if it matches, then that means that exists is set to true. And if exists is set to true, that means that we can't add anything to the recycler view. If exists, then continue. Okay, that's it. Now let's run the app and see if this fixed the problem. Okay, so here we are, and I've created a few more chats. So let's go ahead and create another one. And as you can see, it doesn't duplicate things. It is just as it is meant to be. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's all that I wanted to do for this lesson. We have everything going in a good direction. Now, I mean, there's a couple of more things that we have to do, like if you click on the same user, then it shouldn't create the same another chat. Okay, it should simply direct the user to the same chat, but that's a specific thing, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. But yeah, in the next lesson we should be able to start working on the messaging part, and yeah, it should be fun. So I hope to see you again tomorrow, and ciao.